I just wanted to talk about looking forward what EarthRanger is going to be focused on for the next year or so. I do have a couple logistics things first. So we started the day with 114 folks with outstanding balances, and 25 or so far have paid. So by my math, that's not a lot. Approximately not a lot. So please do correct that. If not, we will have to change your icon in EarthRanger to something embarrassing. Happy to say that the Android version was approved in the Google Play Store of the EarthRanger mobile app, so that is now available for download. So please go have at it. Let us know what you. Yeah, I'll take that. So please do download it, try it out, let us know what you think. I'll show you in a moment the roadmap of what we're adding next as well. This is as exciting as a slide as I could make, I'm sorry. This is what happens when Tiffany doesn't help me make slideshows. But I do also want to announce that some partners of ours are working on a cybersecurity for conservation course. I want to plug this because it's something that keeps me up at night. Generally, the weakest link in any technical system isn't the technology. It's always the people. When, not if, when some data in conservation, regardless of what system it is, gets improperly accessed, you can just about guarantee that it was the result of someone leaving a password out on a table or choosing a simple password or giving access to their computer to their friend, or et cetera, et cetera. It will be something like that. So this is something that I really strongly encourage everyone who's operating with any system, really any web-based system, to take. And we'll give you more information about that when it's available. So for the next year, well, not really for the next year, but just going forward. Adida. So what we'll really be focusing on looking forward is growing the program, but doing that through the amount of impact that we have. It's fun to talk about the number of sites that use EarthRanger, but it doesn't really mean anything, frankly. We would much rather have one site that really uses it and totally transforms their operations and finds extreme value of it than to have 100 sites that use it in some minor way. So we'll be focusing much more on really the quality versus quantity of adoption. And so for us, that means moving throughout an organization, finding multiple departments that can leverage EarthRanger and find value from it. Also definitely focused on entire ecosystems or countries to adopt EarthRanger. We're really enthused by what we have seen in the way that organizations can share data, whether that's throughout the organization, multiple parts of the organization, or kind of even more exciting, the data sharing that can exist between multiple organizations. Great. Sound good to me. Great example of that. That sounds better. A great example of that is some conversations that I've heard at the user conference about collaboration among some of the Vulture programs. I'm really excited about this because it involves potentially dozens of different organizations that are sharing data across the entire continent that are really leveraging each other's work to drive all of them forward and make a bigger difference together. And we would love to enable as much of that as possible. So here's the roadmap for the core team at EarthRanger. That, again, is the web application that you're looking at and the server behind the web application. So right now we're working on gathering and addressing feedback from event geometry. And that'll take us roughly till the end of the year, which amazingly is only a few weeks away, effectively. In the first quarter of next year, we'll be continue to work on a new UI framework, which includes redesigning some events and patrols UI. As you have probably noticed over the last few months, we started to make some of these changes where we took the right sidebar, the event feed, with a horizontal tab structure, moved it to the left, made more room for additional functions, and we are continuing to add those changes into the events and patrols themselves so that it's a cohesive user experience, but also allows for us to add a lot more functionality into the application itself without making it too complicated, and then keeping it so it's still intuitive and not hard to learn and train on. Really the biggest piece of our development effort that we're undertaking right now, and will continue for the first half of next year, is around multi-tenancy. And what this means is, at the beginning of EarthRanger, it was designed to be a single tenant system, meaning that you have no shared resources between EarthRanger sites. So Lewa and Save the Elephants are on completely different server resources. This is really problematic from a scale perspective, because we have roughly 3 servers, or 3 virtual servers, for every EarthRanger site. So today we have, do the math on that, roughly 1,000 virtual servers that we are paying for. And we, as much as we love Google, Evan, we don't want to be that good of a customer of Google. And so we need to move to a multi-tenant system that allows for multiple sites to leverage the same resources. And the other thing that will enable, though, is much greater sharing between sites. So today, the EarthRanger to EarthRanger sharing works by copying data from one system to another. The problem with that is that once you've copied it, it kind of severs the link between them. And so you've probably seen that on an EarthRanger sharing for events on the destination system, it's configured as read-only, so you can't make changes there. And the reason was, we didn't want to give the impression that you can make changes and it would wind up back on the source system. So multi-tenancy allows us to do things like, instead of having a copy between the two, it actually refers to the same event on the same server. And then you can grant permissions to people to make changes if you so choose. That's also, we believe, going to be hugely impactful for those deployments that are across landscapes or across countries, because the possibilities of data sharing and roll-up of data will really be much, much, much higher. As part of that, we're also working on greatly improving the performance of some of the queries in EarthRangers. That includes the observation service. So as you can imagine, moving hundreds of sites on 1,000 servers onto 10 servers, and Chris Jones will tell you next year, it puts a lot more strain on that single resource. And so we want that to work a lot more efficiently for both the servers and the users. And last but definitely not least, the #1 requested item from most of our users is user-friendly administration. So today, the administration of EarthRanger is done through that /admin console, which frankly was never really intended for end user eyes. It just it's stuck because we haven't gotten around to fixing it yet. So that's we're going to fix that, and we're going to make that much, much easier to modify event types, to configure devices, to associate devices with subjects, and the like. And we're also going to be moving a lot of that administrative capability into the main EarthRanger app, which not only allows us to have better control of that experience, but also allows for more dynamic configuration, like being able to configure things on the fly, like geofences or whatnot. As part of that, not part of that, but in addition, we'll also be rolling out multi-tenant self-administration. This is going to allow our support partners to configure, manage their own EarthRanger sites. So instead of setting up additional resources at Google and setting up multiple new virtual servers per site, someone like WPS or 51 Degrees, and I'm not going to name all of you, but et cetera, and thank you, all of you, will be able to click on Add EarthRanger Site, give it a name, and now they have a new EarthRanger site. So that's the plan for the core. The reporting roadmap, right now we're finishing off a data warehouse. This is going to allow for much better performance of the Tableau reports, as well as it's going to allow us to leverage all of the data across all of the systems in an aggregated way to draw numbers like how many giraffe are tracked throughout all of the EarthRanger systems. As part of the privacy policy in EarthRanger, we will never use or display any data that individually identifies a site or an event or a subject or a location. So this is just at the really high aggregate level. But we think that that would be very useful for our own tracking purposes, but also for the community. And we'll also be looking for ways that different sites can opt in to leverage their data to provide more visibility into trends across subcontinents or countries or continents. So we are updating the standard dashboard right now. We just finished a long series of user surveys and user interviews on what was working well and what wasn't working so well in the Tableau dashboards that we ship by default. And we have all of the results of that. Then we are making those changes right now to the standard dashboard. So you should see a pretty significant improvement of that in the future. We'll also be adding the reporting side of the Polygon events. So you've probably seen through one of the sessions over the past few days that we have added this capability to record events as polygons, so an area instead of just a point. And the reporting side of that then needs to follow, which is if you're looking at human-wildlife conflict, how many hectares of corn or maize were damaged. And so those are the types of reports that will be coming out there. We'll also be creating use case specific tutorials for Tableau that are more appropriate for conservation and has more context than just the generic Tableau tutorials that are all based around business items. And so instead, the tutorials will be in terms of arrests or observations of wildlife or measurements in the field. And so that those can be a lot more accessible, if you will, to the people that are viewing them. In the first half of the year, by the end of the first half, we're looking at adding views for different roles. At the moment, Tableau, everyone that's running Tableau is assumed to be able to see all of the data in EarthRanger. We don't have that divided into permissions or roles, so we'll be adding that. There's also a little bit of infrastructure that we have left over in other cloud providers that we're moving over to Google. Not much, but mainly our data warehouse. And beyond that, we're really looking for your input. I think that this is one place where we have an enormous capacity and potential to make the system much, much better. And we're really looking for your input on how to do that. So we'll be chatting with all of you, as many of you as we can, as many of you as are interested in giving us input into what should be in the reporting capability or in the standard set of reports. On the mobile side, over the next month, we'll be adding some quick follow-ups from the initial release of the mobile app. The one thing that we haven't yet done to support the current event schemas in EarthRanger is arrays. So arrays are, like, for example, if you have a REST report, you can add a person, enter the information of name, nationality, license, whatever, click on plus, add another person, and it all stays within that report, but you can create this list of different objects. So that isn't yet supported by mobile. It will be within the next month. We'll also have draft reports. These are reports that you can start to create but save as a draft, meaning don't send it up to the server yet. I'm still working on it, but save what I've done thus far. And then a few additional features for the event polygon captures, like showing the area and the perimeter of the polygon on the map as you're collecting the data, as opposed to just on the report when you exit out of the polygon. In the first quarter of next year, we're working on self-control of patrols. So from the mobile app, you'll be able to say, start patrol, and that on the back end will create a patrol in EarthRanger, associate the user of the device as the patrol leader, and turn on the tracking to be associated with that phone's track. Or find an existing patrol to associate with if it's appropriate. We'll be adding support for offline maps. So you'll be able to download high-resolution maps to a device so that even if you don't have connectivity, you'll still be able to see a map as you're patrolling, and as well as multiple base maps. So having a terrain view and a satellite view, et cetera, within the mobile app. By the end of the first half of the year, we're working on optimized data synchronization. So this is kind of behind the scenes stuff, but what it's going to enable is in the latter part of the year, being able to view other tracked subjects and events from the server on your phone. So that means if you have your device, if there is a tracked elephant nearby and you have permissions to view it, that you will see that elephant and the elephant's track in ER Mobile. Similarly, if one of your colleagues creates a report nearby, say spore was cited, you would see the location and the details of that report also on the mobile device. And then, sorry, backtracking a little bit. Also in the first half of the year, we'll be adding PIN-based authentication. So the observation is that a lot of rangers, particularly for larger ranger forces, you don't want to deal with usernames and passwords. It's problematic. You wind up resetting them a lot. A lot of these users aren't formally educated. And so the alternative is that we'll be authenticating the device. So the device will actually be authenticated to have permissions to interact with an EarthRanger server. And then from there, the user can use a PIN number to identify themselves. So that will make the login and administration of users much, much easier. On our integration side for Gundy, each one of these has new integrations. We generally do an integration every 2 weeks or so, a new one. In addition to that, we are currently working on additional monitoring for the management and troubleshooting of Gundy. So, for example, a dashboard that shows all of the current integrations and the data that are flowing through them and the health of all of them, so that we have a really easy way to identify if some integration is not working well, and we can reach out to that data provider and troubleshoot what the issue is. We're also in the midst of, very close actually, we're just in the process of testing a richer smart EarthRanger bidirectional integration so that patrol data and event data from EarthRanger can be sent to Smart, and so patrol data from Smart can be sent to EarthRanger. So we'll be allowing people to leverage the two tools together in a lot of different additional ways. Event polygons will be supported by the end of the first quarter of next year, so that through the Gundy integrations, it can take advantage of the things like fire integration, so that instead of just showing a point, showing polygons. We do have this integration, I believe not through Gundy, for Aurora Tech today, and we'll be adding it in general so that different data providers can create those events, and they can be sent to all of the different systems that are connected with Gundy. Like the administration and EarthRanger itself, we're going to be working on much cleaner self-service administration for Gundy. In fact, this will likely be presented inside EarthRanger, at least for EarthRanger. If there are other users of Gundy, they'll also have a cleaner view. And so from EarthRanger, you can configure devices, configure sources within EarthRanger, which is actually configuring Gundy, but making it a lot simpler to do so. And then we'll also be publishing SDKs. Those are software development kits for development to make it a lot easier for other developers to create new transformations and new pieces for Gundy. By the end of the year, we'll be working on different types of analyzers. We're still looking at what kind of analyzers these will be, but some obvious examples would be leveraging some partners to perform AI analysis on imagery, so that if we receive a photo from a camera trap or another system, that can then be sent out for analysis and detection and classification of that photo to find what is in it, if anything, can be done, and then that loops back into Gundy and then sends it off to all the destination sources. Destinations. And the other really important thing that we're working on is synchronization of data. This is a technical challenge for a number of reasons, but because of the way Gundy tries not to know too much about its destination system. And so this means that today, when a new event is received through Gundy, it's transformed to an appropriate representation and then pushed off to the destination systems. But if an update comes in, it will do the same and push it off to the destination system, which makes it, it puts the onus on the destination system to deal with duplication. And so we want to make that simpler for people, move that piece into Gundy so that if something comes in which is a modified event, Gundy can manage the history of that, know that it's a modification, not the creation of a new event, and then tell the destination system to update something as opposed to create a new one. On the support side, we'll go through every one of these, but we have, I'm happy to say, we have, what, four dedicated support people on the team now, plus someone who's focused just on instructional design and documentation. And so this is the roadmap of what she'll be working on, which includes both written and video and picture and forums for different types of help and across different content areas, which is on the vertical axis. So what we just finished off was a glossary, which is the definition of all the terms and terminology in EarthRanger, which is actually longer than might imagine. We're working next on a mobile user guide, followed by how to use the geometric areas. We're going to completely overhaul the user guide so that is much more interactive, real-time help when you need it. And then working on the Tableau tutorials that I mentioned before, as well as, well, actually I'm not sure what that last one is, I apologize. So that's the roadmap as we have it defined. I'll pause for Q&A. Well, maybe now, actually, that might be a good idea. So any questions, comments on any of this? Don't be shy. Okay. I guess that means it's perfect. Okay. Well, let us know after the session or via email at any time if your thoughts on this. This is always a really, really difficult exercise. We have literally over 1,000 items in our list of things to do. And so if we spent our entire team's time focused on that list, it would probably take 20 years to do it. And these ideas are the result of our own thoughts, but also a lot of things that people have requested. And so possibly the hardest thing in product management is trying to prioritize what we're going to work on when. And this is the best that we could come up with based on everyone's input and every folks telling us what's most important to them, and also us observing what's necessary for different people. And but it's totally conceivable that we get it wrong. And I'll also mention that we operate in a very agile way, which means if something else comes up 3 months from now, which is clearly a much higher priority than something that we already had on the roadmap, then we will slot that in, which will change things further out. So that said, you can pretty much bank on the next 1 month items. You can feel good about the 3 months after that. After it gets further than that, it becomes a little more tentative. All right, so did want to mention that we are going to send out a survey about the user conference. We really appreciate it if all of you fill that out. One series of questions in particular that I want to mention, and one of the reasons that we're especially interested in your feedback this year, is that we are talking to a number of different organizations about transforming the EarthRanger user conference into more of a general conservation tech conference. We'd probably make it longer, and we would collectively feature a lot larger variety of different technologies and different tools. One of the reasons for that is because looking across the room and seeing the over 300 people here, we think that this is a incredibly powerful platform for getting additional tools out to all of you. We don't want, it's a unique opportunity to have this many people that work in conservation in one place. And we would really love that to be as general as possible, so that it shouldn't just be about EarthRanger. And we try to represent that already through the topics that we had throughout the conference, and many of them were based more around ideas or themes than EarthRanger itself. But we want to double down on that further and have additional sessions that are specific to other types of technology. And so please do let us know what you think about that idea in the survey. And of course, answer the rest of the survey too, please. So just want to thank a few folks. First and foremost, I want to thank all of our speakers. I think we had 42 organizations that participated in speaking throughout the last 2 days. I think there were 70-something speakers individually. And really, they are the people that created the content for all of this. So really, thank you all very much. Wanted to thank our venue. They've taken amazing care of us. I think this is a really cool place, and can see the possibility for even a return visit in the future, depending on size of conference and different things. But I don't know if there's anyone actually in here for us to applaud for, unfortunately. But thank you to everyone out there and all over. I'd really like to thank the EarthRanger and AI2 teams. You all have been phenomenal in emceeing events, in running rooms, in dealing with registration and check-in, in helping us out with some of the comms work that we had going, and it's really appreciated. And then, of course, also want to extend a really, really warm thank you, emphatic thank you to the EarthRanger team for all the work that you do, which really is the reason that we're all here today, is the product that you all build. So thank you very much. Although I'm still annoyed that you're all sitting together, by the way. You should be mingling. Beezy has helped us tremendously with preparing for this event. Is she here somewhere? I think I saw her back there. There she is, back in the middle. Thank you so much, Beezy. So she found this event, found this venue, helped us plan for everything. This would have been impossible if we didn't have her help in country. This couldn't have been done from Seattle. So thank you so much, Beezy, for everything that you've done. And of course, Jordan. So Jordan, many of you may or may not know, had a daughter in, I think it was late August or early September. I don't remember the exact day, I'm sorry. In addition to that, as you all do know, he was interfacing with every single one of you on email and WhatsApp to all hours of the night. He did a tremendous job of arranging all of the transportation and keeping all of this going. It's incredible how much work it is to bring this many people together, especially when you have people coming from 35 countries into Kenya. And he made, from my perspective, he made that all look seamless and easy. Jordan, is Jordan in here somewhere? He's back there too. Jordan, stand up, please. Just really fantastic job. And last but not least, I want to thank each and every one of you. I often get into kind of a, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Sobby kind of mood. And at some point during the EarthRanger, I start to get a little soppy. That's the word I'm looking for. But really, it's such a dream come true to be able to work in this field and to be able to work with all of you. You really are our heroes. And everything that we do every day, we do because we're inspired by the work that all of you do. And so not only thank you, obviously, for coming here. I realize that it takes investment, it takes finances, it takes a lot of time, and you're all extremely busy doing very important work. So thank you for taking the time. But really, thank you for everything that you do every day. And I don't know how else to say it except that we're really just in awe of all of you. So really, thank you.